So I've been wondering whether to do this video, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and I don't know how other people are feeling, but since Biden has been in office, it almost seems like once again, the liberals and the Democratic Party ideologues in the US, they've all kind of gone to sleep, even though they can see Biden is really just not all there, and things are happening. He's actually, it shows that the state can sort of run itself, the military-industrial complex and all of that can basically run itself, even if you don't have a functioning leader. Like you can't really call Biden functional. He's sort of on his way out cognitively. So it shows that, the empire can run itself almost. You've just got the deep state, the U.S. national security state, the unelected government basically running the show behind the scenes. And lately, since he's been in office, there's been all sorts of awful things happening on the border with Julian Assange, with this feeding weapons to Ukraine, hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, Ukraine being a proxy war and cannon fodder for the empire, and whispering in Zelensky's ear to do the bidding of US empire. And he's very wealthy anyway, so they probably promised him some sort of mansion in Florida or somewhere after it's all over, whenever that might be, so he can just keep it all going, be a traitor to his own country, because that's what it is. If you're basically encouraging, you're not trying to do diplomacy, you're just basically encouraging more and more of the military to be killed, more and more civilians, and you're obeying the orders of the Nazis in the Azov battalion, who probably, I think, threatened to kill him if he doesn't continue on. And the US is funding the Nazis in the Azov battalion. There's a real Nazi problem in Ukraine. I'm not saying 40 million people are Nazis, but there is a definite Nazi problem there with the worship of Stepan Bandera, the literal Nazi, who was in cahoots with Hitler and did some absolutely dreadful things to Jewish people in particular. So there's all that going on, and there's no end in sight, because even though, from what I understand, the Russians are winning, it is still, basically, I think it's going to end up destroying Ukraine. And then, of course, it'll have gone on so long that who knows, then they'll probably lose half of Ukraine to Russia, and because Zelensky won't, when they try and do some diplomatic solutions to it, the US steps in and whispers in his ear, and the next thing he's going off again and pushing for more war and asking for more weapons and yada, yada, yada. And the weapons industry is rubbing its hands together. They're delighted. And the oil industry too. Oil prices, for the most part, have been going up. They've sort of come down again, but the oil industry has cleaned up during this, as well as the weapons industry. And I think a lot of those weapons that they're feeding into Ukraine are actually being either destroyed by Russia or taken by Russia. And a lot of those Javelin missiles that are supposed to destroy tanks don't actually work very well. One, because the people the Ukrainians who are using those weapons don't sort of know how to use them properly. And if a tank is moving, a Russian tank is moving, then it doesn't seem to have the same effect as if it's stationary. So there's lots and lots, and God, heavens knows how many millions of dollars, that costs. Meanwhile, the US has taken money from Afghanistan, and there's, since January 2022, 16,000, I believe, children have died because Afghanistan doesn't have funds because the US has stolen them, and apparently Biden has said he's going to give them to the families of 9/11, which is just insane, since Afghanistan didn't have anything to do with it, the people of Afghanistan. So punishing them, this is just sort of just once again the US empire stealing from poor people. So children are dying there, and children are dying in Yemen. They continue to die. There's 377,000 plus people have died, mostly children. since 2015, since this US-backed Saudi genocide in Yemen began. And so there's no money for them, no money for the people in Afghanistan, but money to give to Ukraine, so that they can keep that awful war going and create some kind of Vietnam for Russia, which I don't think is actually going to happen. It might draw it out for a while, but I think Russia inevitably is going to win. And so all that money, then of course, then that's a great way for Biden to line the pockets of the weapons manufacturers. So he's kept them happy, and I'm sure that they will be making donations to him and to others for that. And then Nancy Pelosi comes on Twitter today talking about the Supreme Court is about to make one of the greatest human rights abuses or something to that effect toward the American people in the last 50 years. So I think that is something to do with overturning Roe versus Wade, which means that abortion will be illegal, and that we then have a sort of a Handmaid's Tale type situation, which you could kind of see this coming. I've sort of talked about the US having the 14 defining characteristics of fascism for the last 2 or 3 years, and this is one of them. And the Christian fascists, who Chris Hedges, the author, Pulitzer Prize winning author, has written about, the Christian fascists, they are winning, and the Christian dominionists, who are Christian fascists, who are in the military, they're throughout the military, they're in government, they've inserted themselves in positions of power throughout society, and the intention is to basically turn the U.S. into a Christian fascist state, the whole country. And DeSantis, I don't know what his background is, Ron DeSantis from Florida, but he's developed his own private army now, apparently in Florida, and he's bringing in the most hideous hideous abuses against trans children. It's not even like not giving them support, it's actually sort of like vilifying and making it extremely difficult for them to get hormone blockers and to do the things they need to do so that they can live some kind of a happy, healthy life. And that means, of course, that is going to increase the violence towards trans people, and it's also going to increase the already high suicide numbers of trans children and trans adults and all of that. So isn't this just marvelous? And of course, Abby Martin and Robbie Martin on Media Roots Radio, they have done a couple of podcasts on this just recently, and I was probably going to take some excerpts out of it because they did a very good job going through the various laws, and there's been a couple of hundred even just in the beginning of this year against trans people, and of course gay people too, and I being one of them. Fortunately, I don't live in the United States, but I can see this sort of bullshit coming over here. Because everything that seems to happen in the US, it's almost like a test case. Although I have to say, I don't really like labeling myself, but if I had to label myself for the sake of this video, I'd say I'm mostly gay. I'd say queer would be a better term for me. So what's going on in the US oftentimes is a test case and comes over this way to Australia. So not looking forward to that. And, this is a great way of distracting people, the masses, and feeding the far right, who love to vilify groups, minority groups and vulnerable groups. So this just feeds all of that and causes division so that nobody is looking at what the people in power are doing, including billionaires like Elon Musk, who's now taken over Twitter, and it looks like he will probably be allowing, sort of right-wing people like Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and all those kind of people, giving them the rights to be as transphobic, and everybody else on Twitter, the rights to be as transphobic as they wish. There will be no holes barred on that one. It'll be a free-for-all, which means I will personally just dump that trash fire of a platform, because it's already, I find it so disgusting, the censorship. I mean, not to get on a tangent with this because I've talked about it enough, but the amazing how sometimes, oftentimes I'll tweet stuff just in general on social media platforms, I will post stuff on social media platforms, and people above and below my comments will have dozens of likes and I will have zero. I mean, I'm sort of censored to the nth degree on media platforms, social media platforms. So it's so I'm already experiencing sort of invisibility on there, on say Twitter. It's not as bad recently for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's to do with my heavily curated sort of account, meaning that I'm getting a lot of communists and socialists noticing what I'm saying. But up until just recently, it was appalling. And I left Facebook because I was basically invisible there. Even the people that were following me on Facebook didn't notice what I was posting. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked on this. But I started off this video saying that I didn't really want to talk about this, but the reason I said that is because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many things that are wrong now, and so many things that are bizarrely wrong, like this vilification of trans people to the nth degree in Florida and Idaho. Idaho is appalling. And then, of course, this Handmaid's Tale type Supreme Court thing that looks like it's coming. All that kind of stuff. It's starting to look like the Christian fascists have. There's been basically a takeover in many ways that is sort of successful. And it's only going to get more and more consolidated as time passes. And by the time 2024 comes, and whether DeSantis or Donald Trump or some crypto-fascist Republican, whatever, overt fascist, they get into power, and then it will really, really escalate, and it will be white-knuckling it all through that 4 years. And of course, they'll put up another dope like Biden, they'll probably won't be able to get them out. That's what I think is probably going to happen. That they won't be able to get these awful and dangerous people out. Of course, the Democratic Party, they're all dangerous too. They're disgusting. But I think something is going to happen where they're going to change something, and then they won't be able to get. And I think then it will become, it'll be complete mask off, and within a few years it will become openly fascist, and they'll be rounding up journalists and throwing them in prison, and doing all the sort of things that openly, fascist governments do. They're already, the corporate coup d'etat is successful, as Chris Hedges said. That's happened, and so why not just let the whole thing consolidate, let the billionaires run everything, let Disney build their little towns that are themed towns. You've heard about that. Talk about a dystopian hellhole. There'll be more and more of that because capitalism. And people are, sort of basically distracting themselves so much so that you wouldn't know that imminent human extinction is on the horizon. Everybody, and I get it in some ways, although I think a lot of people don't even realize what's happening. But then there are people who do realize what's happening, and I can understand why they might retreat into distractions. That's what seems to happen with every civilization that starts to decline, like the Easter Island. They all sort of started, getting into magical ideas and distracting themselves, and then eventually, when they ripped through all their resources, they started eating the dogs that they had, and then they basically run themselves into the ground, and how their sort of civilization sort of ended. And it started off really well, and then it, if you could call it well, it started off, and there was lots to eat. There was, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it was basically a decline, and you can almost compare that to what is happening on a much larger scale to us right now. So the reason I'm bringing all this up, and this is just sort of basically a little smear of the sort of awful things that are happening. It's like, where is the good news, really? I mean, where is the good news? There is no good news. I mean, sure, you probably wake up every day and don't expect any good news at all. And that would be pretty much right. there is no good news. It's all downhill, and it continues to go downhill. And it's hard to know, and this is one of my points, it's hard to know what to do. What is the best thing to do? What is the best thing to do at a time like this, where, because there has been no one in history has ever been in this situation where where they were on the edge of extinction. We are the first people, and probably the last, who will experience this. And on top of that, and I don't know if the very, very likelihood of extinction is making these particular politicians and the Dr. Strangeloves in the Pentagon and all of that, is making them put their foot on the pedal and just drive us over the cliff, or whether they were going to, it just happens to be coinciding with that. I don't know. But it seems like it is most clear, I'm sure you would agree, that no one is going to do anything. No one is going to do anything to stop this imminent human extinction. And I'm including, of course, I say imminent human extinction, but being vegan, I'm also aware that 99.9% of the population on the planet are non-human, and they have no say in it. They are just collateral damage in our violent, greedy, speciesist, non-vegan species existence. They are collateral damage. And so we're going to take most of them with us. Of course, the planet will go on without us, and it will probably be a different planet to what we know, because it's going to take 1 million or more years probably to change into something where there are a lot of life forms again, and they'll probably be very different to what we know now, because who knows how it could be unbelievably, sort of inhospitable to most non-humans now, but then there might be non-humans that survive who can adapt or are more adapting to that particular sort of environment. Who knows? I'm sure that some non-humans will survive, or some will develop from bacteria again or whatever, and there'll be evolution, and then there'll be a whole different lot of animals on this planet until the sun, eventually, of course, the sun is going to burn out and then take this planet with us when it explodes, and that we'll all just be floating around in space as little dust particles. So that does not make me sad. I just kind of think that's how life goes, and that's what happens to most stars eventually, and the sun is no different, and it's a lot smaller than some of these massive stars. But anyway, I know that sounds a bit grim, but that's how it is. So eventually we'll all be, this planet will no longer exist, or it will be a little, the sun will be like a dwarf star or something. Anyway, but I've been sort of wondering to myself, what is the best thing to do while this is all happening? It has become so crazy now, so for want of a better word, crazy. It's become so unhinged and demented. Where like the U.S. is just like, it's completely unhinged. The center cannot hold. That poem. It is like everything is spinning out of control over there, and there is no pretense really. There is a pretense of government that is functional. There is a pretense of some kind of democracy. It's all the sort of the facades of everything. There's a facade that there's a fourth estate. There's always a facade that they pretend they care about the people, and they don't. And just let me tell you, when I was on Instagram the other day, I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling, but it's all part of this feeling kind of a bit overwhelmed at the I'm sorry I can't, it's hard sometimes to find another word that doesn't sound ableist, but the insanity of it's just so insane. Every time I read something, and I try not to read too much anymore, because I think I have to be honest and say I think it's kind of a lost cause at this point. It feels kind of hopeless. It feels like everything is so consolidated by the powers that be, It feels like it's a lost cause. I don't even know where to begin, or who could actually stop this juggernaut of an, from the only thing I can think that can stop it, of course, is external forces like China and Russia, as far as the U.S. empire goes, becoming a multipolar world and isolating the U.S. empire. And then, of course, the U.S. empire is in decline, just like when the Dutch, they were in decline, and the British Empire was in decline, and now it's the U.S. empire. And of course, unfortunately, every time an empire is in decline, there's usually a war involved. But if that happens in this case, which could happen because the U.S. might think, fuck it, if we can't be number one, then we'll just take everybody with us. Who knows how insane they are there in that in the Congress, or in the military-industrial complex, or the fascists that'll get in 2024, in the Republicans or whatever. Who knows what might happen. But it's, when I was talking about Instagram, I posted, somebody was going on about Ukraine. I think it was Amal Clooney. Somebody posted something of her going on about how awful Russia is and all of that, and I talked about Yemen and about Afghanistan and all of that, and I had about 20 people arguing with me and saying it was whataboutism, and or that it's that this is important, and we have to focus on this, and they didn't even show any sort of outrage about the 377,000 people, mostly children, that have died in Yemen through the genocide by the US-backed Saudi genocide. Nobody said anything. Didn't say anything about what I said. They just wanted to argue with me and sort of tell me to shut the fuck up, basically. This is 20 different people. And I just thought to myself, fucking racists, you could only be really riddled with racism or American exceptionalism, which is kind of, there's overlaps with that, to be able to just ignore what the US is doing and then sort of focus, of course, on Ukraine, and because they're white-looking people with some with blue eyes, the overt racism that's been in the media lately, they're not like, the barbarians in Afghanistan or Iraq, or they're not the same moral equivalent, that kind of thing. That's the message they put out. They don't say that, but they may as well. And you can see it, on social media when you bring up the endless crimes of the U.S. empire. That people want to argue with you because they're so obedient to, the propaganda. They're so propagandized, or they're doing it in bad faith. And it's just, I don't know, I just thought, there was probably one person on this Instagram thread who sort of agreed with me. Because, here's everybody, calling out about Ukraine when all this is going on. I'm wandering all over the place here, but I don't know about you, but I'd be very interested to hear, sorry, I think there's some little mozzies out tonight. I wonder what your thoughts are on how you're dealing with this, for want of a better word, a shit show. It is a total shit show. And since I knew people were going to go to sleep when Biden got in. They always do that when the Democrats get in. But I didn't expect to see, what I don't know, maybe somebody could, I don't know, has Biden said anything about what's going on in Florida? Is he trying to do anything? The Don't Say Gay, or this attack on trans children in Idaho, and then this attack on women. It's, he's like asleep at the wheel, of course, literally, literally. And it's like having, it's like having dozens of countries in one country. They're all doing their own thing, and they're all engaged in their own human rights abuses. It's a complete shit show over there. So, I'm at a loss to know, and the left, the real left, seems to be getting smaller and smaller, and there's just hundreds of, it's like Jason and the Argonauts, there's just more and more of these right-wing, pundits, talking heads that are sort of piling on minority groups and piling on trans people and piling on gay people and piling on women. And, it's like, and I'm sure that they're getting dark money. I'm absolutely sure. And some obviously are, like Ben Shapiro, and that's not even dark money. He's getting funding from some right-wing thing. And Elon Musk is right on board with that because he knows he also knows that the right wing, it's good. He wants to get on the side of the right wing. He's kind of been, he's persona non grata with the Democratic Party now, and he's playing up to the right wing, and he owns Twitter, so that's fabulous. So anyway, it just, and between the extreme censorship, like PayPal not allowing Minpress News now to use PayPal or GoFundMe, and I don't know much about Consortium News, but now when Parry had it, I kind of but I don't know its direction now. But that has had I think PayPal is going to withhold $10,000 that they have on their account in PayPal, and I knew this would come up again because back 10 years ago when WikiLeaks, PayPal and MasterCard and a few others refused to allow people to pay WikiLeaks. So, just like the US empire who just steals people's funds, steals their gold and everything, and the UK does the same thing when it suits them, all these corporations that are, just do the same thing when it suits them, just refuse to provide service and shut off all the mechanisms for different leftist journalists, independent journalists to get their funds, to keep them going. So they've got that really well sorted now. If they're going to start doing that, they're going to start shutting down avenues for people to receive funds. If you know any of these people, suggest Camaraderie, Nyan, I think that's how you pronounce her name, from Luna Oi. She has this Camaraderie platform where you make donations there, and it seems like it's quite good. I'll leave a link to it. Maybe Manar Adley from Minpress News can consider that for Minpress News. So if you hear of anybody else getting trampled and sort of censored and blocked from receiving payments by PayPal and other platforms like that, corporations like that, please tell them about Camaraderie. So it's starting to get a bit dark now. So I'll probably wrap this up. But if you have any suggestions on how you are navigating this extremely difficult time in history, meaning, I kind of have accepted that things are not going to, I accepted like in 2013 that we were all kind of fucked as far as the climate catastrophe goes. But so I've had plenty of time to adjust to that. And I've been talking about that for a while. But this what's happening, though, with the consolidation by Christian fascists in the United States, and what one can do, bar just continue on what we're doing, what one can do to sort of like, to feel like you're being somewhat effective, and also to not feel completely overwhelmed by the insanity, and I'm sorry to use that word, but the insanity of this. I mean, it truly is just wackadoo. And I worry about people who live there at this, I've been worried about them for a while, but I certainly, the way it's going under Biden too, and I can't even imagine what it'll be like in 2024 if DeSantis or Trump or someone else like them gets in, most likely DeSantis, and it looks like he's got some CIA help there to get, which will probably get him in, and they'll probably never ever get those guys out. Not that the Democrats are any less terrible than those people. They're all awful, but I get this feeling that whoever gets in next time, it's going to be almost impossible to get them out. And I just wonder how people are dealing with all of this. Sometimes I don't even know where to start. There's so many things wrong, and I'm very busy with some various projects that are happening here at the moment. So I don't have much time, and so I have to be particular in what I talk about. And but it's been sort of very depressing for me, and I wonder what other people are feeling. So please, let me know. I hate to say in the comments section, people say that so that there's more algorithm engagement, but I'm saying that because I'm actually interested. So anyway, I hope this hasn't been too depressing. I'm not meaning it to be. It's just that I've been thinking about this for a while, and I said to Dee Dee the other day, I said, I really am at this point that I'm getting to the point at the moment where it's hard to even read. Every day it's just some other awful thing. It's just bam, 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 you know? That's how it feels. It's just like you're on the ground and it's just punching down, all this awful stuff going on all the time, every day. I don't know what to do except what I'm doing, and it just seems so, it's so insignificant, and I know that the revolution isn't going to happen online. It's not. And I think that's another problem that the left has, that there's a lot of stuff going online, but there's not. I think that people are sort of almost feeling a learned helplessness at this point. And I wonder sometimes, like Brian Becker always seems to be so, sort of optimistic, and Ajama Baraka seems so optimistic in some ways. But maybe they're just saying that so we'll feel better. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on in their heads about all of this. But anyway, just, I suppose, carry on and, do what we can. And feel free to rave on in the comment section and say what you think about everything, and what you think, if you've been feeling somewhat at a loss. Okay, so thanks for watching. My name's Trish Roberts. You're watching Faint Signals from Vega. Keep well, and don't forget to go vegan if you're not vegan already. Bye for now.